Chapter 6 Know Yourself, Know Your World of book What is Destiny? The Absolute Law of Karma by Shriram Sharma Acharya. Each individual has different identities for different roles in life. This identity depends upon the relationships with the people with whom he or she interacts. For a mother, he or she may be an object of material affection. For a father, an obedient child. For the teacher, an intelligent pupil. And for friends, a dependable, good humored buddy. A wife looks at a man as her beloved darling, whereas his son relates to him as his father. The same person appears to his enemy as an adversary, to the shopkeeper as a customer, to the servant as a master, to the horse as a rider, to the caged bird as the jailer. Bed bugs and mosquitoes find him as nothing else but a source of delicious blood. If one could visualize the various mental images that people have of an individual, it would be found that each has one's own peculiar concept and none of these agree with the others. Furthermore, none of these images accurately identify the whole individual. Everyone conceptualizes other people according to the particular ways that he or she relates to him. Para ends. It is even more amusing that man himself begins to adopt all of these interpersonal identities. Throughout life, he lives with multiple self identifications, various thoughts like I am an adulterer, or I am an honest, or I am an wealthy, or I am old, I have no family, I am ugly, I am popular, I am unhappy, I am surrounded by wild persons, etc., continuously churn and circulate in his idiosphere. As other persons form an image about an individual according to their interests, the individual too builds an electric and lopsided image of himself based on the perceptions of his sense organs. Like a drugged person, he lives in the perpetual hallucination of his numerous momentary identities. If he could truly identify with his own inner self, he would be surprised to know how far he has strayed from the truth. Para ends. Man always lives in a make believe world created by his imagination. In his dream world, one may build castles in the air, fight with windmills like Don Quixote, fall in a well, derive pleasure from embracing and kissing his beloved, or find himself flying in the sky, etc. Even while not in the state of apparent sleep or dream, most of us, deluded by ignorance, are all hallucinating in an imaginary world. One thinks that he is living in a palace, another trembles because of imaginary fears, yet another daydreams of being engaged to the most beautiful damsel in the world. Some insane person is found rejoicing in showing off the wealth of his kingdom. Para ends. This world is like a mental asylum in which every variety of lunacy can be found. With varied degrees and types, everyone here has his own eccentricity. For instance, even among learned scholars, everyone at one time or another considers his viewpoint as the most perfect or relevant, or considers himself to be the most intelligent in comparison with his neighbors and directly or indirectly attempts to prove it. If you go to a mental asylum and observe the fantasies of the long term inmates, you will find a close parallel to the daydreamers of this world who consider themselves to be completely sane and sober. And not only the so called daydreamers, many of the rational or realistic ones too are often driven by the mirage of false pride, cravings, or other kinds of illusions. Para ends. Subheading: Your world, a reflection of your mind. In this world, we find people complaining about many types of misfortunes and feeling euphoric on insignificant occasions of pleasure. There are habitual pessimists blaming everyone for everything. Expressions like, this world is very bad, times are bad, honesty is a virtue of the past, religion has been buried for good, etc., etc., are very commonly talked about. If someone is in the habit of repeating such phrases, he is expressing only the impressions of his mind, and you can safely assume that he himself might, in some testing or lucrative moment, would not mind compromising with moral values. Para ends. One's mind gradually builds the images of his unhappy world by interacting with pessimistic people. If someone is in the habit of complaining about lack of opportunities for work, widespread unemployment, failure of good industries, and non availability of good jobs, take it for granted that this or his idiosphere is full of thick clouds of indolence, torpor, and incompetence. This he finds reflected everywhere in the world. If someone sees this world as full of self centered hypocrites or sinners or evil and uncivilized persons, infer that the individual himself has an abundance of corresponding negative tendencies in his own mind. This world is like a magnificent large mirror which reflects the viewer's own idiosphere. As mentioned earlier, elements of this world precipitate three types of fundamental intrinsic tendencies of nature, namely sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Whichever attribute dominates in the personality of an individual, it attracts its counterpart from the world at large. Full stop. Wherever a short tempered person goes, he finds him someone to quarrel with. One who has hatred in mind will always find out an object to be hated. To an unfair person, everyone appears ill mannered, uncivil, and worthy of punishment. Whenever an individual interacts with someone, he views the latter in the same light with which his own personality is colored. A person of impeccable morality rarely comes across someone of fallen character. Scholars do get avenues for higher learning. Seekers of truth always find opportunities for quenching their thirst for wisdom. Enlightened souls always been living on this earth. Wherever they live, vibrant ambience around them attracts virtuous persons. Para ends. It may be noted that nature manifests itself through different combinations of sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic, so there are good as well as bad elements pervading in the sublime as well physical domains of its existence. Good average and bad coexist in this world, but one most often experiences what one gets tuned into. The mirror of world reflects happiness for the virtuous and the optimist hard workers and unhappiness for the pessimistic evildoer. As soon as we change our attitude, see the good qualities only and thoughtfully resolve to transform the wrong into right, the wise into kind, with love, endurance, and understanding. The entire world showers us respectfully with petals of love. In doing so, you would also receive uninterrupted blessings of the angelic souls from the invisible heavenly world. Para ends. The glaring and burning blaze of hot summer changes into the soothing luster of the full moon. The creation of the omniscient is full of beauty and joy. When you look for happiness, each particle of nature is prepared to give you peace and joy. Your mind can give you the taste of royal style, lavish dishes in your own dry morsel of bread. Mind always seeks peace and happiness. You should cultivate an optimistic temperament to see the good in the world. This will keep your mind energetic, alert, and contented. Para ends. No doubt, in this world, one has to face adversities and unhappiness as well, but one can bear it if one adopts righteous attitude. Adversities of all kinds, including predominance of wicked persons around you, occur to test your endurance and to accelerate the pace of your self evolution. Without a system of examination, how would there be a differentiation between a learned person and a rustic illiterate? Para ends. In essence, being inert, this material world is incapable of giving us pleasure or pain. The world is a mirror reflecting the beauty or ugliness of our own mind. When the philosopher calls this world an existence in virtual reality, it is implied that one sees the world according to one's own state of mind. It is like the many blind persons giving their description about the shape of an elephant after feeling only a part of the animal's body. You can transform your circumstances by changing your outlook and inner ambience. Expand your brotherliness, benevolence, love, sympathy, and optimism and project them in your conduct, and you will find it reflected back to you as a world full of bliss like the biblical Garden of Eden. To sum up, the world is a mirror reflecting the beauty or the ugliness of our own mind. Chapter ends. Thank you.